Hello everybody. I don't know. This is one of the problems with the C1 is that the readings sometimes are a bit technical. But it is what it is. Apart from the difficulty itself, I don't know how you may find them a bit difficult at your age in some cases. But it is what it is. Okay, page 94. Take some notes about this. I remember, especially now that I look back on it, my primary school teacher, not my first teacher there, Don Jose, I think it was Don Jose, I'm not sure. But I remember he smoked in class. He would lean on the windowsill, en la repisa, and he would smoke there in Sagrada Familia. So I remember that, for example. So, I don't think I remember the first day I went there. I remember an intelligence test I had to do. I don't know if it was the first year, but I remember that. I remember feeling nervous about it. Memories bring back you. Okay, so take some notes. We'll discuss them in class. And the same with this. Okay. Loads of stuff. Remember, a lot. Should you understand it all? Okay. Now, all this is an introduction to the gap text part 7. This is the one, okay, where 6 sentences have been removed. In this case, normally it's more like paragraphs, okay, but anyway, and you have to match them. Now, procedure for this. The procedure for this is really important, otherwise you can go crazy. Number 1, this is where you try to answer these rhetorical questions. This is that, anyway. Okay, read the title and any subheadings that you may have, or even the task. Sometimes the task, like in this case, gives you information. I don't think it happens in the exam. I don't remember right now that you get a little, like the task with some information, but here it does. A woman who had any difficulties in primary school, so you already know what it's about. Okay, so read the information introducing it, and then you already know what it's about. So I wouldn't do this thing that you are advised here to do, like read the text. Well, I wouldn't read it first. Okay, so the title or the task, subheading, if you have subheading, is when you have information there, let's say subheading. After that, what do? 3, 2, 1. You start reading. When you get to the gap, you do 2 things. Number 1, you predict. Number 2, you mark any potential linking information. What is linking information? Is that information that will help you connect the main text to the missing paragraph. Examples. I'm going to type them. So these are words that I would mark. However, I can do it. Anyway, however, what does it tell you about what you have before? There's contrast. Positive, passed all his exams, so you must have something negative. Peter was ill for 2 weeks. Peter's parents got a divorce the week before the exams. However, he passed. Okay, that's one. And then he and his. These indicate that the subject in the first sentence is a man or a boy. That's why you can say he. Okay, so pronouns, positive adjectives, linking devices. Words like these, that, this, what do they indicate? 3, 2, 1. These issues, that indicates that you've mentioned at least 2 issues, 2 problems before. You can't say these issues if you haven't mentioned 10 issues. It's not grammatically possible. So that's a clue. These are words that you should mark. The same in the singular. This condition or this medical condition. So you've mentioned a medical condition, a problem, a disease, an illness. Okay? Him, the same as before. He never recovered from it, so you need to find a problem that has to be overcome but wasn't overcome. So what it refers to, it is more or less the same. He, the same. Synonyms, topic words, that means they are talking about the same, more or less, area of knowledge. Okay? Or they're speaking about, I remember an example about tunes, like iTunes on the iPhone. A tune is a melodía. So it's like another word for song. So they were talking about these songs in the album, a new tune. So that paragraph is talking about the same concept, like a song, using different words. Okay, or even repetition. Sometimes you just have repetition. Okay, the word is repeated. Something else that can help you is verb tenses, but that's not so reliable. Okay, perhaps one paragraph is talking about a specific study, so everything is in the past. And then another one is more predictions for the future, and it's more or less in the future, more verbs for future prediction. But that's less reliable because you can mix tenses. Anyway, sometimes it helps. Okay, so that's something you can also look at. So these are the words that you should underline while you are reading. Okay, and then you predict the idea. I think you have here the consequence, you have an example, you have a question, the answer to the question. Okay, that's, you need to read before and after the gap to mark these words and to predict it. Okay, you do this, so multiply by 5. You do this for each of the gaps. You continue reading, you get to the gap, you do this. You get to the gap, you do this. You get to the gap, you do this until the end. Number 3. Okay, we start reading the options. We read option A. Okay, she studied dividing exercises. So we already have a clue there. She. So before that, the subject is this woman, Barbara. Perhaps there are other paragraphs where other people talk, or perhaps not. So perhaps that doesn't help you. Okay, but you read it, and because of the meaning, you see where it goes, because you've always predicted the information that would be missing, even if you don't predict it properly. Okay, it helps you identify more or less, and then when you read it, this could go there because you've read it. Okay, so you try to place it in the gap, and then you have to find connections between A and the text. Okay, those linking devices that we saw, those linking options. So you have to find some connection between the text, okay, the words around the gap, and A. If you don't find anything, probably it's not the answer. Okay, so you should try somewhere else. Once you think you have it, you go to B. You read B, the same. Because of the meaning, where do you think it goes? Because you've read the text properly. Okay, we didn't read it just to get the idea. We read it properly, and we predicted it. We predicted what was missing, and the same until you get to the end. Remember, there's one which is not to be used. Okay, and this is what I can do for you. If you are not sure, put the letter outside the gap, because perhaps that's a better one. Sometimes this is difficult. I find it's difficult, but unless you really try to follow a procedure, it's going to, I think it's close to impossible. Anyway, if you have a method that works for you and you get all 6 correct, be my guest. Be my guest. Okay, so that's it. Do the exercise. I'm going to show you the answers in 3, 2, 1, or when I find it. Some advice that I've read, which may not be very helpful, is to try the extra one and see whether it fits in any of them. I don't know. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. The answers are. Now, correct it. Here, I got this one well. So normally I make one mistake, but I got all of them well in this one. Now, what you can do, that was the procedure. You did, hopefully you followed instructions. Now, really, really, really important, you need to find the evidence now for the ones that you got wrong. And if you got one and you didn't know why, but you got it well, you should also find the evidence for those. Okay, that's it. Find the evidence. Now I'm going to actually do some work, and I'm going to tell you the evidence, but please make sure you found the evidence first. And this is not to check. If you find the evidence and you realize, then your brain little by little will get better at finding the evidence before you have the answer, which is the whole point in doing this. Okay. Ready? So let's start. I think this one is relatively easy. What do you have here? You have contrast. 100%. Reasoning. Fail. Negative. So this is the same. On the one hand, she was brilliant. Perfect memory. Memorized whole book. So 100%. Other times, didn't understand anything. So fail dismally. Dismally is like, well, you have it later. Okay. So I think we've seen this one before. Anyway, that's it. Okay. The same contrast that you have here. This is what I told you. A paraphrase. You have she, and you are talking about tasks and exams. Okay. Like testing. Next one. I think this one is again very easy. For the first time, so the break F at the beginning, you have the breakthrough. So this is the first time recognize somebody, that's a breakthrough. This is a word that I put, I think, breakthrough. Like un avance or... Okay. Recognize somebody describing the injured man's expressions. So the man is the Russian soldier. You know it's a man not because unsexist, because it says his subsequent disabilities. So the expressions were the same. His difficulties. So you have this part of synonyms or near synonyms. Disabilities, difficulties, describing what I experienced, because he recorded at the end of F. You have he recorded in great detail. So recording in great detail, describing exactly. Okay, so this is it. And also he, which refers to the man mentioned before. Next. Okay, you have things connecting it with the paragraph before. So at the end, an area of my brain wasn't working. And G says, the bullet has lodged in a part of the Russian's brain, so area of the brain, part of the brain where information, blah, blah. Okay, so they're talking about this. This was the region of her brain which had been malfunctioning. So the realization is that was the area in her brain that wasn't working. This realization led her to continue, okay, her reading. Why continue her reading? Because before she was reading this book, and then she continued her reading. So you have this temporal timeline, linear temporal, this timeline, and also her to her. Okay, next one. Again, some connections here. Grow bigger. So if rats could grow bigger and better brains, so could she. So she started devising exercises to develop the parts of her brain. Develop the brain, grow bigger and better brain. So you have that paraphrase. Then mental exhaustion as exhaustion as a result of this. No, the hours up to 10 hours. What was this? 8 to 10 hours a day. So she was exhausted. So exhaustion. I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm going to check. I said it well the first time. Exhaustion. Like a exhausted is a T. That's why I started having that. Exhaustion. Like ch. So it was okay. So sorry for my confusion with myself. Now, after 3 or 4 months of this is what I gave you examples of. This is training 7 or 8 to 10 hours a day. Okay. So all that. They have this is not so clear, but anyway, deep. Encouraged by the progress she had made. Okay, the progress is from darkness into light. All this progress, how her brain had changed, changes progress. So her approach was revolutionary. Her approach is what you've said up to now. Okay, the paragraphs above, including this, the progress, how she had done. This note, she developed more exercises. So this approach of developing more exercises here and here was revolutionary. And the last one, okay. So E says little receptivity for her ideas. This refers to her approach was revolutionary, but most people didn't agree with it. And then so many wrong diagnoses get made. The wrong diagnosis is thousands of children dismissed as impossible to teach. Okay, so these are the wrong diagnoses made, and thanks to her approach, now they are able to learn. And that's it. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go back to another problem, which is this. Okay, working out the meaning from context. Working out was in the last podcast. I don't know the one you've done now, or the other one, scientists, which many of you got wrong even after correcting it. That was in the podcast too. Anyway, the problem, as I told you before, is that the texts are very often technical, so it's difficult to follow. So you need to be really, really good at working out the meaning of new words from the context. You have a number of words underlined, like dismally. We saw it before. So you need to use the correct form of those words. The correct form Okay, so if it's an adverb, you may need a noun or whatever, or perhaps you need the same word, but perhaps you don't. Okay, the correct form of those words in these sentences. Only the ones underlined. So make sure you've done it. I'm going to give the answers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, dismal is catastrófico. No, I told you, catastróficamente, dismally, like estrepitosamente. Estrepitosamente, I think it's better. Dismal failure is fallo estrepitoso. Okay, a major breakthrough, no, I told you, like an avance, medical advance, a breakthrough, but normally it's like you can't make progress and suddenly you break through, you make progress. Devise, to devise is like create. I've devised a new method, similar to invent, but perhaps the collocation is not exactly the same as invent. A devise, it's like come up with, a formal word for come up with a method. You could say come up with a method, come up with a solution. Devise is like ingeniar, no? More or less. Okay. Get here is understand. This appears in the B2 book. Yeah. Is there a subject you didn't get when you were in high school? The premise. A premise is a fundamental truth. Okay, una premisa is the same in Spanish. Okay, something that you consider true. It can't be changed. And written off. To write something off is like consider something lost. Okay, right. A write-off is when you have an accident, a car accident, and the insurance company tells you that there's nothing to be done. So it's a write-off. You get some money for it, but it can't be repaired. Okay, so write that down so I know that you've been listening. A write-off as a noun when you don't get any money from the insurance for your car. And now 6, you can take some notes about this. And I'm going to tell you about some vocabulary. Dolt. Adult, that you can look that up. Lodged. A lodging. Lodging is another word for accommodation. So lodged, you can imagine. Now words. That appears later. So overcome, no, to get over something, to overcome problems. Groundbreaking. So it's like it breaks a groundbreaker is it's called icebreaker. No, these big ships that break the ice. Anyway, so groundbreaking is like it changes everything until that point. Desperate, which was in the Hunger Games. Desperately, most of you got it well anyway. Desperate. We have literacy, numeracy. Literacy is the ability people have to read. Numeracy, the ability people have to use numbers. Alfabetización, not alfabetización. I don't know if it includes these two. I don't remember what this is called. So literate is alfabeto, illiterate and alfabeto. So numeracy. And okay, this we've seen this. Changeable and changeable. We've seen this word. And strengthened, a word that we've seen very often. And strong and dab also. And strengthen, makes to be made stronger. That's it. Thank you very much. Bye.